How many wounds from envy at work do you carry silently, without realizing how deeply they harm your body and soul? Perhaps you have felt the heavy gaze of jealousy from colleagues, the whispered words of resentment, or the quiet hostility that lingers in the atmosphere. These wounds are often invisible to others, but they cut deeply into the heart, leaving scars that weigh upon the spirit. Envy at the workplace is not simply a matter of rivalry or competition. It is a spiritual poison that slowly corrodes peace, weakens self-confidence, and can even burden physical health. You may finish your day drained not only by the tasks of labor, but by the spiritual tension that presses upon you like an unseen chain. Yet, in this night prayer, you are not left alone. God, in His mercy, has appointed Saint Raphael as the divine healer, the one who brings restoration to both body and soul. Tonight is not about carrying wounds into another day. Tonight is about release, about allowing the balm of heaven to touch what no medicine can reach, to heal where no words can soothe. As you open your heart, Saint Raphael stands ready to deliver you from the chains of envy, to free your body from stress, and to calm your soul with God's peace. Scripture reminds us in Tobit chapter 12, verse 14 to 15, that Saint Raphael reveals his mission as a messenger sent to bring healing and guidance. He is the Archangel who accompanies us in our struggles, who brings clarity where confusion reigns, who leads us away from the snares of the enemy into the light of God's blessing. Tonight, through prayer, you will encounter His presence in a new way. This is why you must not end your day in silence or resignation. You are invited to enter a sacred moment of trust, to let the prayer of this night carry away bitterness, heal hidden wounds, and restore your strength. What envy has tried to steal, God is ready to return. What hostility has tried to sow, God is ready to uproot. Through the intercession of Saint Raphael, you can rest under the protection of heaven and wake renewed, guarded by the light that no darkness can overcome. The hidden wounds of workplace envy. Workplace envy is often disguised, rarely spoken aloud, and yet it leaves deep wounds that can silently shape the way you think, feel, and even carry yourself. Perhaps you have walked into a room and felt the tension of unkind eyes upon you, as if your success or your peace provoked discomfort in others. Maybe you have experienced the undermining of your efforts, where no matter how hard you work, recognition seems withheld because envy clouds the hearts of those around you. These wounds are not seen like a physical bruise, but they sting the soul, leaving you with fatigue heavier than the tasks of the day. The danger of these wounds lies in their invisibility. Unlike open conflict, which can be confronted directly, envy often moves in silence, whispering through gossip, subtle exclusions, or unspoken hostility. The soul absorbs these arrows without always recognizing their impact. Slowly they erode confidence, steal joy, and plant seeds of doubt that make you question your own worth. Left unchecked, these hidden wounds can harden the heart, leading to bitterness and mistrust. But God does not allow His children to remain trapped in such pain. In Psalm 34, verse 18, we are reminded, "The Lord is close to the brokenhearted and saves those who are crushed in spirit." The wounds inflicted by envy may be hidden from the eyes of others, but they are never hidden from God. He sees, He understands, and He sends His healing through the ministry of His angels. Saint Raphael, whose very name means God heals, is the archangel appointed to tend to these unseen injuries. His mission is to deliver balm to weary souls, to touch the heart where envy has left scars, and to restore peace where unrest has taken root. These hidden wounds may seem beyond repair, but in the hands of God, they become the very places where His light shines most clearly. Tonight, as you pray, allow yourself to recognize the silent injuries envy has caused you. Naming them before God is not a sign of weakness but of strength, for what is revealed in His presence can no longer remain poisoned. Trust that through Saint Raphael, healing is already beginning even for the wounds that no one else can see. Spiritual consequences of envy. Envy is not simply a human emotion or a passing irritation in the workplace. It is a spiritual sickness that corrodes the soul of the one who feels it and wounds the one against whom it is directed. Scripture makes it clear that envy is a destructive force. In Proverbs chapter 14, verse 30, it is written, "A heart at peace gives life to the body, but envy rots the bones." This is not poetry alone, but a spiritual truth. Envy decays relationships, weakens trust, and spreads poison wherever it takes root. When envy is directed at you, it can feel like an unseen weight pressing against your life. Doors that should open seem to close, friendships weaken, and a sense of isolation grows. These are not just psychological effects. They are spiritual consequences of an atmosphere clouded by jealousy. The enemy uses envy as a tool to steal peace, divide communities, and disrupt the blessings God intends for His children. At work, envy sows division, competition without charity, and distrust that corrodes harmony. For the one carrying envy, the consequences are equally serious. James chapter 3 verse 16 warns, "For where you have envy and selfish ambition, there you find disorder and every evil practice." Envy blinds the heart to gratitude, closes the eyes to God's blessings, and leaves the soul restless, never satisfied. It becomes an open door for bitterness, anger, and even oppression, because the devil thrives in hearts that refuse to rejoice in the good of others. But for those who are the target of envy, God does not leave them defenseless. He raises up His angels as protectors, and among them, Saint Raphael stands as the healer. His mission is not only to close the wounds inflicted by envy, but also to shield you from its ongoing harm. Where envy seeks to plant curses of discouragement or division, Saint Raphael brings blessing, unity, and peace. Envy may attempt to steal your joy, but it cannot take what God has consecrated. The workplace may feel heavy with hostility, but heaven's protection is stronger. When you invoke Saint Raphael, you are not asking merely for relief from unpleasant feelings. You are asking for the cleansing of the spiritual atmosphere, for the breaking of envy's power, and for the restoration of divine harmony in your life. Saint Raphael, the healer of God. Among the archangels revealed in Scripture, Saint Raphael shines as the one entrusted with the mission of healing. His very name means God heals, and his role is not limited to physical restoration, but extends to the soul, relationships, and the hidden paths of life. In the Book of Tobit, chapter 12, verse 15, Raphael discloses his identity, saying, "I am Raphael, one of the 7 angels who stand and enter before the glory of the Lord." Sent by God to guide Tobiah and heal Tobit's blindness, he manifests the divine desire to restore what is broken and to bring clarity where there is confusion. Saint Raphael's mission is one of companionship. He walks with the faithful through their journeys, offering guidance, protection, and the balm of God's mercy. Just as he accompanied Tobiah on his travels, defending him against danger and ensuring his safe return, so too he accompanies you through the corridors of your daily labor. He is not a distant figure in the pages of Scripture, but a living presence who continues to fulfill the same mission entrusted to him centuries ago. Workplace envy wounds both body and soul. It blinds hearts to joy, much as Tobit's eyes were blinded, and it leaves families and individuals vulnerable to discouragement and fear. Yet Raphael is sent to heal this blindness and to deliver you from the poison of jealousy that seeks to corrode your peace. His healing is not only medicinal, but spiritual, reaching into the unseen places where bitterness has lingered and restoring the harmony that only God can give. When you pray to Saint Raphael, you are not calling upon a symbol, but upon a heavenly physician who carries the medicine of God's grace. He delivers clarity to the mind clouded by lies, strength to the body weakened by stress, and serenity to the soul tormented by envy's hostility. He does not act alone but as a messenger of the Almighty, reflecting the love and power of the one who sent him. Tonight, as you place your trust in his intercession, imagine the healing light of Raphael descending upon you, just as he touched Tobit's eyes and restored his sight. Allow him to walk with you as he walked with Tobiah, guiding your steps, defending you from hidden dangers, and bringing you safely through every trial. His presence is God's promise that no wound is too deep to be healed, and no shadow too heavy to be dispersed by the light of heaven. The balm of healing for the soul. Saint Raphael does not come with weapons of war, but with the balm of God's mercy, poured gently yet powerfully into the hidden wounds of the heart. The poison of envy often leaves behind bitterness, discouragement, and resentment that no human word can fully soothe. These are the invisible scars of the soul, the places where distrust has grown, where joy has been stolen, where peace has been overshadowed by the shadows of others' jealousy. Left unattended, such wounds deepen, shaping thoughts and emotions in ways that quietly rob the spirit of freedom. The balm of healing Raphael brings is not fleeting comfort, but lasting restoration. He applies God's grace as medicine, cleansing what envy has infected and softening what hostility has hardened. In Tobit chapter 11, verse 13, Raphael heals Tobit's blindness with a remedy that seemed simple but carried divine power, for it was not the medicine alone, but the angel's presence that restored sight. In the same way, when you open your soul to Raphael, what seems irreparable within you becomes whole again. Bitterness gives way to forgiveness, discouragement yields to renewed courage, resentment melts into compassion. This is the work of the divine healer, to transform wounds into wells of grace, to turn scars into testimonies of God's faithfulness. His balm does not only heal the damage inflicted by others, it also heals the ways you have allowed envy's poison to settle in your own heart, whether through anger, defensiveness, or despair. Allow yourself in this moment to be still and to imagine Saint Raphael touching your soul with the balm of heaven. Where there is heaviness, feel lightness return. Where there is sorrow, let peace rise. Where envy's sting has left its mark, let healing flow. The balm is not of this world, and it does not fail, for it comes from God through the hand of his Archangel. Tonight, your soul is not left wounded. Tonight, healing begins, and what envy sought to destroy becomes the very place where God's mercy shines brightest. Healing for the body affected by stress. The wounds of workplace envy do not remain confined to the heart. They creep into the body, manifesting as tension in the muscles, sleepless nights, sudden headaches, and exhaustion that no amount of rest seems to cure. The soul and body are deeply connected, and when the spirit suffers, the body carries the weight. Stress caused by envy at work can weaken the immune system, disturb natural rhythms, and leave the body vulnerable to sickness. What begins as a spiritual wound often shows itself through physical suffering, a reminder that envy's poison touches every part of human life. Saint Raphael, whose mission is to bring holistic healing, does not ignore the body. In the Book of Tobit, chapter 6, verse 7, it is Raphael who instructs Tobiah to use the fish's heart and liver as a remedy, showing that God provides healing even through the simplest means. Raphael's guidance brought not only physical cure, but also protection against the spiritual attacks of the enemy. His work reminds us that God cares for the whole person, body and soul together, and that healing is never partial when it comes from his hand. Tonight, as you pray, allow yourself to entrust even your physical pains to Saint Raphael. The tension that knots your shoulders, the unease that disturbs your sleep, the fatigue that drains your energy, all of these can be placed in his care. His intercession invites the peace of God to settle upon your body, calming the nervous system, slowing restless thoughts, and preparing you to rest in the safety of heaven's embrace. Healing for the body is not only relief from symptoms, but restoration of harmony. As your soul finds peace, your body can finally let go of the burdens it carries. The deep breath you take in prayer becomes medicine, and the release of worry becomes a cure. Through Raphael, God's healing reaches beyond what you can control, bringing renewal to every cell, every muscle, every heartbeat. Trust that tonight as you sleep, the Archangel's presence surrounds you, and the healing you have sought begins to flow through both body and soul. Deliverance from envy's chains. Envy seeks to bind its target with invisible chains. It works in silence, attempting to surround you with fear, insecurity, and constant tension until your spirit begins to doubt its own strength. These chains are not forged of iron, but they weigh just as heavily. They manifest in repeated obstacles at work, in relationships marked by distrust, in a lingering heaviness that drains hope and joy. Left unbroken, these chains begin to shape the way you see yourself and your future, as though the enemy were whispering that you will never rise, never be free, never walk in peace. But Saint Raphael, sent as God's healer, also comes as a deliverer. He breaks not only the wounds of envy, but the very power envy tries to hold over your life. Just as he defended Tobiah on his journey, guiding him safely through threats both seen and unseen, so too he defends you on your path. His presence reveals that no curse of envy, no jealousy, no ill will spoken against you can overcome the blessing of God. The chains that envy seeks to place upon you are shattered the moment you place yourself under the protection of heaven. In Psalm 34 verse 7 we read, "The angel of the Lord encamps around those who fear him, and he delivers them." This promise comes alive through Raphael's intercession. His deliverance is not partial. He does not loosen one link and leave the others. He strikes with God's authority, breaking every chain, every pattern, every hidden weight that envy has placed upon you. Imagine those chains falling now, the pressure that seemed constant lifting, the fear that held you back dissolving, the cycle of opposition broken. This is not wishful thinking, but the work of God through his Archangel. Where envy once tried to control your path, God restores your freedom. Where others' jealousy sought to curse, God pours blessing. Tonight, Raphael fights for you, not only healing wounds, but breaking the chains that sought to bind your life, so that you may walk freely into the destiny God has prepared. The light of God in the darkness of workplaces. Workplaces touched by envy often feel heavy, as if an invisible cloud hovers over every interaction. The joy of labor fades, conversations are strained, and even successes feel tainted by the hidden hostility of others. It is as though a shadow lingers in the atmosphere, stealing peace and suffocating the spirit. This darkness is real, but it is not invincible. Where envy tries to sow bitterness and fear, the light of God, carried by his Archangel Raphael, enters to dispel it completely. Saint Raphael brings not only healing to wounds, but illumination to spaces clouded by tension. Just as he guided Tobiah safely on a journey filled with unseen dangers, he guides you into clarity where confusion reigns. His presence transforms the very environment around you, filling it with the light of God that no envy can extinguish. This light does not simply push away darkness, it reveals truth, restores harmony, and blesses the work of your hands. In John chapter 1 verse 5 we are told, "The light shines in the darkness, and the darkness has not overcome it." This promise becomes reality through Raphael's intercession. When he enters the spaces where envy tries to reign, he does not merely protect you, he sanctifies the very ground you stand upon. What was once hostile becomes peaceful. What was once a battlefield becomes a place of blessing. Imagine your workplace bathed in this divine light. Conversations no longer weighed down by jealousy, tasks accomplished with serenity, relationships touched by new respect and understanding. The darkness of envy cannot remain where God's light is welcomed. By praying with Saint Raphael, you are not only asking for personal healing, but also inviting heaven to transform the environment itself. Do not underestimate the power of this light. It is stronger than whispered gossip, more enduring than hidden resentment, and more powerful than the schemes of envy. Where Saint Raphael walks, darkness cannot stay. Tonight, as you open your heart in prayer, ask him to flood your workplace with God's light, turning every shadow into a testimony of divine presence, signs that healing is taking place. When Saint Raphael begins to work in your life, the signs of healing are not always dramatic, but they are unmistakable. The first sign is a deep inner calm that replaces the anxiety you once carried into your workplace. Situations that used to disturb your peace no longer provoke the same turmoil. This serenity is not denial. It is the evidence that heaven has touched your soul and lifted the hidden weight of envy's poison. Another sign is the release of grudges. Where resentment once took root, forgiveness begins to flow. You find yourself less concerned with the opinions of others and more anchored in God's truth. Old memories of pain lose their sting, and new compassion arises, even for those who once envied or opposed you. This shift is not natural. It is the fruit of divine healing. Healing also reveals itself in your body. Sleep becomes easier, rest feels deeper, and fatigue begins to lift. What was once constant stress loosens its grip, replaced by renewed energy. The mind clears, creativity returns, and you discover that work no longer drains you, but becomes an offering of service once again. Raphael's mission is holistic. He restores harmony to both body and soul. Another clear sign is the return of joy. You begin to notice small blessings again, to smile where you once only sighed, to give thanks where you once complained. The chains of envy's influence are broken when gratitude rises, and this joy becomes a shield against further attacks. In Tobit, chapter 11, verse 17, after Raphael healed Tobit's blindness, the family rejoiced with hymns and thanksgiving. Their joy was not just personal, but communal, spreading outward as a testimony of God's mercy. So too, when Raphael heals you, others will notice. The atmosphere shifts, your presence carries peace, and your renewed strength becomes a witness that God is near. Look for these signs. They are not illusions. They are proof that healing is unfolding, that the Archangel has touched your wounds with the balm of God's mercy, and that what was once broken is being restored. The night as a time of restoration. Night is not merely the end of the day. It is God's appointed time for renewal. From the very beginning of creation, darkness was followed by light, and in that rhythm of evening and morning, God established rest as part of his divine order. The night allows the body to recover, the mind to settle, and the soul to turn inward toward the quiet presence of God. Yet for many, envy's wounds disturb this sacred time. Stress carried from the workplace becomes restless thoughts, envy's sting becomes anxiety, and the hours meant for peace turn into a silent battlefield. Saint Raphael enters into this space as a guardian and healer. He takes the night and transforms it into a sanctuary of restoration. Just as he guided Tobias safely through unknown roads, so he guides your spirit into peace while you sleep. His presence becomes a shield at your side, a balm over your soul and a safeguard for your dreams. The very hours that seem to magnify fear become hours where healing flows silently and steadily into the deepest parts of your being. In Psalm 4, verse 8, the psalmist declares, "In peace I will lie down and sleep, for you alone, Lord, make me dwell in safety." This verse is fulfilled in a particular way through Raphael's intercession. Under his care, your sleep is not mere rest, but participation in God's healing. The poison of envy loses its hold when the soul is surrendered to God in the stillness of the night. Consider how often Jesus himself withdrew into the night for prayer, finding communion with the Father in solitude. In those hours, he was renewed for the mission before him. In the same way, your night can become more than recovery from labor. It can become a sacred encounter. Through prayer, Raphael takes what weighs you down and places it before God, leaving your spirit free to rest in divine peace. The night, so often feared for its silence, becomes instead a gift of God. With Raphael beside you, it is transformed into a holy time where chains are broken, strength is restored, and blessings prepare you for the dawn. What was once darkness becomes the very hour of healing, because heaven itself watches over you as you rest. Inviting Saint Raphael into your rest. Before you close your eyes and surrender to the silence of the night, you are given a choice: to carry the weight of the day into your sleep, or to place it into the hands of heaven. To invite Saint Raphael into your rest is to choose healing over heaviness, peace over turmoil, and blessing over bitterness. He is not only the healer of wounds, but also the companion of travelers, and the journey of sleep is one of the most vulnerable passages of the human soul. In those hours when you cannot defend yourself, he stands as guardian, physician, and guide. Imagine yourself as Tobiah did, walking with Raphael by your side. The road was uncertain, dangers lay ahead, but the Archangel never departed from him. So too tonight, as you prepare for rest, see yourself accompanied by the same heavenly presence. Every fear that seeks to trouble your mind, every memory of envy that stirs your heart, every anxiety that unsettles your body can be handed over into his care. He does not ignore these burdens. He carries them before God, ensuring they do not disturb the peace you are meant to receive. When you consciously invite Raphael, your room becomes more than a place of sleep. It becomes a sanctuary. The bed is no longer a space of restlessness, but an altar where God's healing touches you through his Archangel. In this moment, you are like a child placing your wounds before a divine physician, trusting that as you sleep, his balm will flow and your soul will be restored. In Psalm 121 verse 4 we read, "Indeed, he who watches over Israel will neither slumber nor sleep." God's care never ceases, and through Raphael this care becomes tangible in your own life. The one who never sleeps assigns his angel to watch over you in the night. There is no fear too great, no shadow too deep, no envy too strong to disturb the protection of heaven. As you invite Saint Raphael into your rest, let go of every resistance. Surrender not only your wounds, but also your sleep itself. Let him guard your dreams, heal your body, and lift your soul into peace. What begins tonight in faith will awaken tomorrow in renewal, for where Raphael is welcomed, rest becomes healing, and night becomes a doorway to blessing. The Healing Prayer Experience. Now that your heart has been prepared and your soul has been opened, it is time to enter the moment of prayer itself. This is not a simple recitation of words, but a living encounter with heaven, a dialogue in which Saint Raphael stands beside you, carrying your petitions before the throne of God. In this prayer, envy loses its grip, stress melts away, and wounds long hidden are touched by the balm of divine mercy. Close your eyes in faith and imagine the Archangel drawing near. See his presence as light surrounding you, a light that penetrates the places of your soul where darkness has tried to linger. Every word you speak rises like incense, and Raphael gathers it as an offering to God. You are not praying alone. You are joining a heavenly chorus, uniting your voice with the intercession of the Archangel, whose mission is to heal. Speak to God with honesty. Tell him of the burdens you carry from your workplace, of the envy that has weighed on you, of the exhaustion in your body and the unease in your spirit. There is no need to hide, for God already knows, and Raphael already sees. As you speak, trust that the chains of envy are breaking, that forgiveness is being poured into your heart, and that peace is entering your body like living water. Prayer becomes healing when faith embraces it. It is not about eloquence or perfect phrases, but about trust. In Tobit chapter 12, verse 18, Raphael declared that his mission was to test and to heal, proving that God is glorified when his children turn to him with sincerity. Tonight, you are fulfilling that same truth. Your prayer becomes an act of surrender, a declaration that you belong to God and that no envy has the power to take his blessing from your life. Remain in this sacred space. Let the silence between your words become as powerful as the words themselves. Allow Raphael's presence to wash over you, carrying your soul into the rest God has prepared. In this moment, the healing you sought is already unfolding, because where faith meets prayer, heaven always responds. Consecrating work and relationships. Healing is complete only when what has been restored is also consecrated to God. To consecrate is to set apart, to declare that your workplace, your relationships, and your efforts no longer belong to envy or fear, but to the Lord who blesses all things. When you consecrate your work through Saint Raphael, you are placing it under the mantle of heaven's protection, asking that every task, every decision, and every relationship be guarded from the poison of jealousy and sanctified by divine light. Think of how Raphael guided Tobiah, not only protecting him from danger, but leading him into a blessed marriage with Sarah, a union healed from oppression and consecrated to God's will. In the same way, he desires to lead your professional and personal relationships into peace, turning what envy tried to destroy into a source of joy and harmony. This consecration is not symbolic, but real. It is a spiritual act that establishes boundaries against the enemy, declaring that what is entrusted to God cannot be stolen by envy's hand. Consecrating your workplace means lifting your co-workers, even those who envy you, before God in prayer. It means asking that the light of heaven touch every corner where bitterness has grown, that the atmosphere be cleansed, and that blessings replace hostility. Consecrating relationships means forgiving those who wounded you and inviting God to transform their hearts as well. It is not only protection for you, but intercession for them, because healing spreads when love is chosen over resentment. When you speak this consecration, you are declaring that envy has no dominion over your labor, your success, or your peace. You are placing your career, your health, and your future into the hands of the Archangel, whose mission is to heal. You are aligning yourself with God's plan, which is always greater than human opposition. Let this consecration flow from your lips tonight. Offer your work, your colleagues, your family, and even your struggles to God through Saint Raphael. What you give, he blesses. What you surrender, he protects. And what you consecrate, he transforms into a testimony of his faithfulness, a prophetic word of renewal. Tonight, the chains of envy lose their power, and the poison that once disturbed your peace is drained away by the healing light of heaven. Through the intercession of Saint Raphael, the wounds of your body and the scars of your soul are being touched by God's mercy. This is not imagination, but reality, for the Lord has promised in Jeremiah chapter 30, verse 17, "I will restore you to health and heal your wounds." That promise is alive in this very moment, reaching into the hidden places where envy tried to corrode your spirit and steal your joy. Feel the difference within you. What once felt heavy now feels lighter. The tension that pressed upon your shoulders is loosening. The thoughts that raced endlessly are quieting, and the sorrow that seemed unshakable is giving way to peace. This is the sign of Raphael's presence, the assurance that God has not abandoned you to the hostility of others, but has sent his angel to guard and to heal. What envy tried to destroy has become the very place where God's grace shines more brightly. From this night forward, walk with renewed confidence. Let your work no longer be burdened by fear of others' jealousy, but lifted as an offering of service to God. Let your relationships no longer be tainted by suspicion, but cleansed by forgiveness. Let your body no longer be weighed by anxiety, but strengthened by rest. The Archangel does not leave you as he came. He leaves you restored, renewed, and clothed in light. This is your prophetic word. You are healed, you are delivered, you are protected. No curse of envy has authority over your life, because you are marked by the blessing of the Almighty. Saint Raphael stands beside you as a sign of that blessing, carrying you through the night and into a new day where peace and strength will accompany every step. Hold fast to this truth and let it guide you into tomorrow. Closing night blessing. As this day comes to an end, let your heart rest in the certainty that you are not alone. The struggles you faced at work, the envy that weighed upon your spirit, the fatigue that pressed upon your body, all of these have been lifted into the hands of God through the intercession of Saint Raphael. Tonight, you do not fall asleep carrying the same burdens. You lay down under the protection of heaven. In Psalm 91 verse 11 it is written, "For he will command his angels concerning you to guard you in all your ways." This promise is yours tonight, and it unfolds as Raphael spreads his wings over you with healing and light. May your room be filled with peace, your dreams untouched by fear, and your rest transformed into a holy encounter. May the balm of heaven reach the wounds envy left behind, soothing them until they no longer trouble your soul. May the Archangel's shield cover you from every attack of darkness, and may his presence guide your thoughts into serenity. Let each breath you take in the silence of the night remind you that God is with you, that his angels surround you, and that no curse can withstand his blessing. When dawn arrives, may you awaken renewed, your body restored, your soul refreshed, and your spirit lifted in joy. Let this night become the beginning of a new chapter, where envy holds no power, where peace reigns within you, and where God's grace leads your every step. Rest now under the mantle of Saint Raphael. He delivers your body and soul, and as you sleep, heaven fights for you, heals you, and prepares you for the blessings of tomorrow.